Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. We are working on this today. I went and picked up the starter this morning. It was rebuilt. I got the fuel tank held on with just a bolt. I know it's going to shake all over the place. I'm filling it up right now with some diesel. That'll be enough to see if it's going to fire up and run. I have the muffler off. I'm not worried about that. It's going to be loud anyways. But I do need to find something to cover this up in case the rack is stuck and it decides it's going to take off and run away on me. So let me, got the perfect thing. Check out these old swings. I remember swinging on them when I was a kid. And no, I'm not that old. One of these square body visors. Preferably one that ain't completely nasty and suck up. That one will work. One that ain't gonna suck up a bunch of junk. Alright, let me get my tripod and we'll start cranking on it. I got a good hot battery on it, hot enough. And just a dreary, nasty day. And then after we get done with this, I'm gonna show you what I picked up yesterday. So here we go. This little electric pump is a lifesaver. Sure beats trying to pick up one of these big 5-gallon cans and fill a tank. Here we go. I think the problem is we're not getting enough fuel, or we're getting fuel mixed with water. Well, we know it's going to run, so before I burn up the brand new starter, or freshly rebuilt starter, I'm going to take that banjo fitting off. I think we're going to do away with this tank for now. But I need to find a banjo fitting that's just got the barb coupling. You know what, I can do that because I need to replace that hose anyway. So we're going to take that barb fitting off right here. I'm going to cut that line. We'll have to cut it on both ends and replace that fuel line and put clamps on it. But that way I can take this banjo fitting and run it to a tank of fresh fuel with no water, no junk, no nothing in it. Because you can see the white, that's the water mixing with the oil, or mixing with the diesel, which is oil. And I think once we get a fresh, clean fuel supply, it should fire up and run. I still am worried about it taking off because this, I don't know, this throttle is real funky. It's moving the lever, but just barely. And maybe that's all it takes. I don't know. But we're going to do that for now and hopefully be able to come back and get her started. Alright, so we know what we need to do to the Vermeer. Now let's go out here and I'll show you what I picked up yesterday. I drug home another truck, which it is what it is. I sold the square body. I didn't really want to. I put so much work in it, but I didn't have a lot of money in it anyways. And truth be known, it's a 350 with a granny 4-speed or 3-speed with low. So it wasn't going to run highway speeds, or wasn't going to handle a lot of it, and probably wasn't going to pull real good. So I picked this up. It's a 1990 Super Duty Ford. It's got a 460 big block and a 5-speed manual. Now technically I think it's F450, It's got some rust, nothing bad, I can deal with that. The interior, other than just being dirty, is in really pretty good shape. It's got a single tank. It's got speed cruise control. The issue it has right now is twofold. One, the fuel pump is out, so I need to drop the tank and verify which one I have and get that replaced. Actually, it's threefold. And the second one is the ignition tumbler is not moving this rod. When you put the key in it, it just spins around and around. So I was able to, I got a hot battery on it right now, which I need to disconnect. I was able to run this rod with a pair of pliers and turn the ignition on, verify the radio and the blower motor and all that works. And I didn't try the wipers, which I'm sure they do work, or the lights. But it does turn the ignition on and turn the engine over. So I just got to figure out what's going on with this tumbler and or this rod. I think the rod has something to do with the tilt, because the wheel is froze. I cannot tilt this wheel, so I don't know if it's locked into this rod and that's keeping it from tilting, but we got to figure that out. The third problem, well, fourth too, this wrecker bumper has to come off. It's cool and all, but it's just not gonna serve the purpose that I need it to. The biggest problem is this, not being a big block, but a lot of the wires, you can see the air cleaner boot has been chewed up by mice. And this huge mess of wires in here, there is several that are either chewed in half or got big bare spots in them. So the ones that have just got a bare spot, oh, that was wet. The ones that just have a bare spot, I'm gonna liquid tape them. And the ones that are broken in half, obviously I'll have to put back together. I will be deleting, since this is a 90 model, it's old enough, I'm gonna be deleting all this smog junk. It's got a smog pump on the engine. I'll probably still leave it on there just because it's run off a belt, and I need that to still be there to run the alternator, because the smog pump is directly below the alternator. Plug wires, I'll do the whole tune-up. Plug wires, cap, rotor, so on and so forth. It's gonna be a pain to get to them, but I'll do it, because it's gonna need a tune-up. This thing, he said, sat for 7 or 8 years. The radiator's low. I don't know if I've got coolant leaks or what, but supposedly he had the truck and was driving it. He just parked it, wasn't using it. It originally, from the dealer, was a wrecker, and it does come with the wrecker bed and the wheel lift, which I didn't get yet. I know the guy, he's real nice. He's like, they'll be here, just come get them whenever, because I could only fit this truck on the trailer and wasn't able to get the wheel lift and or the wrecker bed. Plus I need to come up with a game plan of how to get the wrecker bed so that I don't tear it up, because it is skirted. I mean, door panels and stuff are, other than just being nasty, are in really good shape. I don't know what happened here, but everything just needs a good cleaning. I need to figure out where the water's coming in that caused that to rust out. I think it's coming from the cab lights, which you can see they're lifted up, all of them, which you might think, oh, that's not that big a deal. Well, it is when you're going down the road, you know. But I mean, look at the paint on this thing. It still shines. Yesterday, when it was dry, it had a shine to it, even with all the dust and stuff. So I don't want to rub on it too much and scratch the paint with all the dirt that's on it, but I think I'm going to be able to just pressure wash it and then just wax the thing, wipe down all the interior, clean it up real good, and it should be a pretty decent truck. I'll have to do something with the headliner, but all the glass is good, no chips, no cracks. The windows roll up and down, vent windows, which is going to be handy to have. Even the doors are hard to shut. This thing shows 41,000. Now everybody's gonna be like, oh my God, it's got 141 or 241, or it could even have 341,000. Well, it was a wrecker since it was new. And I know they always say, well, look at the pedals. The pedals look nice. They are barely worn. I mean, they're dirty, but them are not worn very much. That corner is a little bit. I'm gonna say it's probably not 41. It could be, it's probably 141,000. I doubt if it's any more than that, just for the shape this truck is in and the fact that it was a wrecker all of its life. This guy bought it at an auction and immediately took the wrecker bed off of it and put this flatbed. Now the flatbed's off of a different truck, and I think it was a single wheel, because you can see how much tire I got sticking out. So I'm gonna have to get some flat bar and roll it and make a fender, radius it in a little bit, make it look nice. But all this is gonna be sanded off and get all the moss and lichens or whatever they are off of it. So eventually, once I get it running and driving, get tires on it, I'll tape the cab off, and then I'm going to sand the whole bed, get that conspicuity tape off the sides, and repaint it nice black. I got to wire in a trailer plug. It's got a gooseneck ball, which I'm not going to put a plug up there because I don't intend on ever pulling a gooseneck ever again. These hooks are going to come off, and I'll weld D-rings on there, and then I got to torch holes in this I-beam, because obviously you can see it catches rocks. Those bounce out, they'll knock somebody's windshield out. It's got to have mud flaps on it to be legal, which again, that's not a big deal. I'll weld a bracket off the toolboxes and brace it back up to the bed and put a little short mud flap. That'll fix that problem. And that's about it. So the big thing now is getting the fuel pump replaced. I'll just have to jump it to start this thing. I can turn the ignition on in there and jump the solenoid to start it. And once I know that it runs, then I'll start going through here fixing all the wires. Once they're done, then I can do a tune-up, plugs, wires, cap, rotor, the whole shooting match. Maybe replace a coil if it's not good, I don't know. It's got Hydro Boost on it, which is a plus for these heavy trucks. I've seen some mods where guys take these things, and apparently on that plastic there's like an air horn that tapers down and then goes into the intake. He took them off and said it made a very noticeable difference in power, which I think they're on there for a reason, to direct the air and not really compress it, but I don't know. I think they're on there for a reason. Obviously, though, they wouldn't have them. And then he also did a modification in the grill where the air intake curves around to that side, the opening is. He made it, cut it off, or I guess where it goes straight in. But the problem with that is that's like that so that it doesn't suck in water and snow and dust and everything else. It kind of sucks air in from the side where it's cleaner air. So I'm not going to mess with that. I got to put this box back up here, which it looks like it just come out of that slot. Take that bolt off, slide it back, run it back through, put a bolt in, a little 10mm bolt, and then the washer fluid and overflow tank are held up. Radiator I think is okay. Like I said, it was low, so it could be cracked, have a leak, I don't know. AC, I don't have a clue. I don't know anything about the truck other than the guy told me it did run and drive, fuel pump went out, he parked it, and it sat for 7-8 years. So with any luck the AC works, but if it doesn't, I have all the stuff to completely redo the AC, and I will be doing that so that I have cold air conditioning and warm heat. And then we'll worry about tires and stuff like that. I've got the other simulator that goes on the front. Unfortunately, loading it on my trailer, these actually were hitting. They stuck out just enough where those nuts were hitting the fenders, so it bent this one up. I don't know how hard these are going to be to find. I'd love to have it back, where it looked like the driver's side. I think it's just missing one of the, yeah, it's just missing one. And I have extras of these, but But I don't know once you pop them out if you can pop them back in. I can live with that if I can make this one look that way. The rears, they're missing all the little chrome caps, which I'm sure you could probably buy them. I just don't know if you can buy the simulators, since this is a 10 lug. They may be kind of hard to find. But it's got nice little aluminum steps and handrails to get in and out. It's got the tow mirrors. You can spin around and flip them over and for pulling trailers. And you can see that plate is really old, where it come off of whatever other truck it was on. And yeah, this is definitely going to be an issue with it slinging stuff all the way up, possibly a rock, and busting the mirrors out. The toolboxes, I don't have keys for them. I'll have to get them rekeyed. But same thing, other than just being dirty, they're in really good shape. So I need to get rubber plugs to put in there so it keeps dust and mud and everything else from getting slung up in there. This is the worst box of the bunch, and it's still, excuse me, still not bad. It's got some crusty rust in it, but the bottom's still solid. And again, just need to go through and put these plugs in there so it can't get stuff in. I'm not worried about condensation. They'll mainly be for straps, boomers, and stuff like that. I might possibly put some tools in, but I'm not going to do anything until they have locks. And the guy that bought my square body is a locksmith, so he told me if I have any problems with stuff, he can help me out, like rekeying things, because unfortunately, another problem I have with this truck is I only have one key, and it's the ignition key. I have no door keys. I have no keys to the boxes, so the ignition key, I can go make a copy of that. But I need these rekeyed and make copies of them. I need those rekeyed, and hopefully they're all four the same, and make copies of them so I'll have some spares. So, yeah, is it going to get very good mileage? Probably not. But is it going to pull? Yes, it'll have the pulling power for sure. With the 5-speed, I'll actually be able to run, you know, highway speeds if I want to. But oh, and I'll need to find a new model bumper. Oh, there's one on a 2012 F550. I don't know if I'd use that or not, but I'll probably pick one up. I think this year model you can use a half, 3/4, or a 1-ton bumper. So I'll find one off of a nicer truck, a nice chrome one, put it on there, or painted one, I don't care. I just want something there and it'll beat up and bend up. I got a little welding to do on here, weld that hole up, cut this off, grind it down, re-weld it, get all them lights and brackets off, and I've got an actual light bar I'll probably put on there to shine backwards just as a good work light, and I'll just throw a toggle switch and a relay on it. But yeah. Oh, and then them springs. This thing's got a GVWR, I believe, 14,000. Get my glasses out. I mean, it is a 450, so. Yeah. The front axle's rated for 5,000. The back one's rated for 11. So the GVWR is actually 14,500 pounds. And it was a cabin chassis, incomplete vehicle. There's the, I believe that's a throttle for the PTO, and it had switches up here to engage it. It could have been to engage it, I don't know. But it had a panel mounted under here that had 3 different switches on it for rotating lights and stuff like that, that I don't need anymore. But you guys let me know what you think. Has it got 41,000 miles? Has it got 141,000? Does it have 541,000? Who knows? And y'all check this out. It looks like that flatbed's going downhill. But if you look at the gap looks right. And if I kick the front of the bed up, then the headache rack's going to be leaning backwards. And it also, from this side, it looks like the bed's on there crooked, like it's, but it's some kind of an optical illusion, because when you go to the other side, it looks the same. So I'm gonna live with it. I ain't messing with it. It's on here. He's got it mounted really nice. It bolts on front and rear. It's not welded anywhere. and he's got grade 8 bolts in it. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 spots, and so it's got 8 mounts with 2 grade 8 bolts per mount with lock nuts. So it's not going anywhere. Now, more than likely I am going to have to put, well, and that's the whole reason for getting this, to put my welding skid on it more or less permanently. And it's definitely going to have to go on here, because as heavy rated as this truck is, it's going to ride like a chuck wagon going down the road. So there you go, guys. That's another thing I drug in to work on, but my wife actually likes this one, so maybe she won't complain if I spend a pile of money on it. She will. You see what kind of dreary day it is, so I'm just kind of running around town, catching up on small projects. I had to go look at a job, talk to that guy about his material, if he even got the right material, which he did. I went to another customer that bought a side-by-side. He wanted me to look it over, make sure it was okay. It is. It needs a little bit of stuff, but he got a really good deal on it, and it'll last him a lifetime for what it is. And then still got to put the front end on my in-laws' mule, and I got them a new windshield. They ordered one of those little soft vinyl. I'll show you what it is. They're super cheap and they work, but it's hard to ever get all the wrinkles out, and they end up, when you're driving it, you look like you're drunk or feel like you're drunk trying to drive it with the crazy mirror look to it. So I ordered them a solid windshield, and I've got to get all this pressure washed and cleaned out, and I made a new hood latch, because there's actually a huge box that goes in here when the front end's on, and you could basically put a small cooler or anything in it. It'll hold a lot of stuff. And since there's not much storage on this thing, it has a glove box. You could put something down there, but it's probably going to bounce out and you're going to lose it, or it's just going to be filthy. So, and I need to pressure wash all this out of here too, clean it up, put a new air filter in it. Probably could build a little box and put it in there and have a little more storage, but it's just a pain. So I put a choke lever in here for the hood release, and then they can start taking advantage of that storage space, because that's been one of the issues with this. They've never been able to use it because you couldn't unlatch it. And okay, guys, so I went and got an oil filter, because the other one, I don't remember if you saw, it was all pinched and it actually had some cracks in it. It was leaking engine oil out. I ran a line. I was able to get that barb fitting apart, and I've got one banjo end on here, and the other banjo end is on the suction side down in the bottom of that little nurse tank, or whatever you want to call it. I think it's going to start now. So let's hook up the fuel pump. And hit the starter button. It should start. I don't have this adjusted. You can tell it's not really doing much. I've got to mess with that. That's the kill switch. The whole time I've had this injection pump apart, cleaning it and doing all this stuff, I thought that was a primer and that was your throttle. It's not. That's your throttle. That's your kill switch. There is no primer. Apparently it doesn't need one. So anyhow, there you go, guys. It works. Now I've got to fabricate some handles for the drive. I've got a wire in there to put back on, and then I got to flush the hydraulic system out and refill it, and we can test it out. Go check out my other videos. Later.